Welcome, everyone, to another Inside the Birds TV with Adam Caplan and Geoff Mosher, presented, of course, by DraftKings Sportsbook. And, man, look at this is what football is all about. We are bringing back our friend, former Eagles offensive tackle Trey Thomas. You see him there. He's down in Florida, in Bradenton, where he's been coaching the offensive line at IMG Academy. And he's been nice enough to do this interview for those watching on the YouTube channel with actual stretching drills and football going on in the background. Trey, thank you, because, we're in the playoffs here, Eagles, Bucs. We're going to talk about it, but, we got less and less football days, theoretically, ahead of us until the offseason, and just seeing that is nice. And it feels like we're a long way away from that sun and warm weather. I got to tell you, it's like 23 degrees here today.
Yeah, well, you should be coming down for the game, man. I mean, everybody's coming down to Tampa. Come hang out, get some fun in the sun.
Yeah, actually, are you going to be at the game?
No, I'm not going to the game. I'm going to go do a pep rally Saturday. But as far as the game, I like sitting down at home, watching it on TV so I can rewind it and really get into it.
Sure. What's the buzz around there? I mean, you're defending Super Bowl champs. Bradenton's is right outside of Tampa, so I'm sure you got a lot of you're listening to the sports talk. You hear the fans. There's a lot of Philadelphians down in that area anyway. What's it like?
Oh, you know what? Everybody's on Tom Brady. Every time you turn the TV on, it's about Tom Brady and his avocado hair dye and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just way too much. Where it's like a lot of Brady. I mean, a lot of Brady, especially being down here. It's hard for me to catch the Eagles games live down here. Say like I had to go to a sports bar over here on Anna Maria Island called Slim's, which is a cool sports bar, and there's a true Eagles bar there. And I mean, they get fired up, but all the time down here is always Brady, man. Tampa Bay, it's all on Brady and his hair dye.
You're in Bradenton, Florida.
Yes,
right?
I'm in
Tampa Bay and Bradenton.
Tampa Bay, Bradenton. Yeah, so they're all on Brady, man. But I think that this team is going to come down here fired up, ready to rock, man.
So, Trey, the Eagles got in the playoffs. I certainly was surprised. Geoff and I did not pick them to get in the playoffs. Did it surprise you when you saw them early when they were 2-5? And A, did it surprise you? And B, is this a team you could see getting on some sort of a run?
Yeah, I think yes and yes. I think it did surprise me seeing them making it to the playoffs, because at the time it didn't seem like the team was gelling yet. There was some hang-ups, some stuff offensively that they were just struggling with the run game and all the RPOs and all of that other stuff. But it seemed like they really got on stride and they started stacking some wins. And then now here we are looking at it, and it's like, hey, they were able to make it to the last game and not even have to play their starters. You know what I'm saying? Like, who saw that coming?
No one.
And I tell you what, and it was all after Nick Sirianni. And did I pronounce this right? Yes, I believe I did.
Yep.
After he gave the flower speech, man, the team has just taken on, man. And it's been roots growing, you've been watering, and now we're sprouting. And here we are now into the playoffs.
Yeah, he got his green thumb and he's a playoff coach. It's unbelievable. It's like a double major there.
There you go.
Trey, being an offensive lineman, and you always did such a great job breaking it down on your YouTube channel in the trenches with Trey or with us on the pregame show. When you see, I mean, the running backs have been good, but they've been interchangeable in this offense. The one thing that's remained the same is how dominant the offensive line has been. I have to imagine you've just appreciated that about this team more so than other teams, just how they established their will in the trenches.
Absolutely. I mean, now this is one of Coach Stoutland's, best years, I think, as a coach, and I know that people have, you can go back to 17, the Super Bowl, we had a lot of injuries. But again, where this man had 15 different starters throughout the season, and he continues to just stack wins. And what he's doing, when you get a running team like this is right up Coach Stoutland's alley when you're talking about running the ball. I remember a lot of times when he first started out, because I was on the staff with him when he first got here, and I was like, man, he spends a lot of time on run blocking, and I was a guy that, with Juan, it was a lot of protection, spending a lot of time in protection. But for Coach Stoutland, he would spend a lot of time on run blocking, working the mate blocks, which is combination blocks. And, with this season, it's just really connected, and I think that when you get a team that can run inside zone the way they're doing, they're only running inside zone, outside zone. It's nothing too fancy. It's where, you just go ahead and you get a couple combination blocks between either the backside guard and tackle, or you get a combination block between center and front side guard, and you get good push right up the middle of the field. And then now the backs can either hit it front side or they can cut it back. So, and I think that the way they've been doing it has just been amazing. And having Jalen Hurts back there as well helps them as also, because now once you read that defensive end, having Jalen Hurts the way he is as a quarterback, that holds that backside defensive end. So even if you don't block him, if he comes crashing down trying to stop the run, then Jalen Hurts just pulls the ball and then he takes off running out of the backside of the run.
Trey, and you talked about Hurts and what he's been able to do. Well, the guys protecting him on the left side is Jordan Mailata, who I know he's not an elite player yet, but he's getting better. Let's assess his play. What do you think of his play this season?
I think Jordan is extremely athletic. He's a massive individual. My only thing with Jordan, sometimes he gets bodied up with the defensive end, where I say that he lets the defensive ends into his body a little too much. For me, I would want he has all this height and you have all this length. Shoot your hands a little earlier, and then now you can keep those defensive ends at bay. And I think that would help him a lot instead of letting them getting bodied up with the defensive ends at times. But I think that he's definitely on his way to being an extremely talented left tackle for a long time. Because I mean, even when guys try to bull rush him, I mean, the man is 6'8", 370 with 12% body fat. I mean, it can play a ukulele, you know what I'm saying? So I mean, what you can't move him. I think that he's definitely has grown as a player, and he just continues to get better.
Trey, let's talk about this matchup on Sunday, because obviously you're down there, you're well aware of the Buccaneers and what they bring, what Todd Bowles brings from a defensive standpoint. They have an excellent front seven, no doubt about it. How do you see that kind of matchup in the trenches, and how that might dictate this game?
Well, I went back and I watched the last game yesterday. I was just going back and just wanted to go back over through the game. And a lot of times what you saw, we were still in that RPO system. And I think that Jalen was still pulling the ball a couple times instead of just getting the ball, letting the running back have it, and then you make a way. Because, I mean, now in the last game, you had Dillard playing left tackle, and then you had Big Jordan over there at right tackle. So, you didn't have your true line together. So I think that affected some things. But I think now you can go ahead and just say, all right, Jalen, I need you to let the running backs go ahead and have it, because they were still running some zone reads, and Todd Bowles was playing them for it, where they would have the DN come crashing, but then that backside linebacker that you're supposed to combination block to, he would come over the top of the defensive end. So they were playing for the RPO. They were playing for Jalen to read that defensive end and see that the defensive end is crashing, that he's going to pull it. Well, they had a linebacker playing over the top that would come in there and stop that play behind the line of scrimmage. And so that was a lot of the problem. So I think that Tampa Bay is probably going to come with a little bit of that same game plan, just because of how much of a threat Jalen Hurts is. But I think that if you could just hand that ball off and just allow those horses up front to keep getting pushed, I mean, I could see us coming out of this with a W.
Trey, when you talk about Todd Bowles and that D line, I mean, you've got Vita Vea, one of the better nose tackles in the league, going to see plenty of Kelce. Do you worry about, or are you concerned about Kelce's? He's not the biggest guy in the world, and you've got Vita Vea, who's tremendous. So how does that match up, that interior of the Eagles line match up against Tampa Bay?
I think that one of the things that you're going to have to try to do there is that you just don't want, and I know what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to put 5 guys across the line of scrimmage, and they're going to make our offensive line have to go 5-0, where our offensive line is going to have to block man on man, and you're going to single Kelce out. And that's one of the things that I would do if you know that how much of a threat that your interior line can bring. But if they get in a 4 down front, then now you have a situation where you can get some help. You can call a guard over there to help him out or whatever. So, as long as you stay ahead of the downs and you dictate what their defensive front is going to be, then now we can start operating, and then we can keep things to our advantage instead of it being a disadvantage.
No, I have a Trey Thomas interview bingo card of terms that Trey likes to use, and 5-0 was the first one on it. So I'm going to cross that one off. We have black over. That's the second one. And
yes,
then,
black over.
We'll get to that later, right? And then there's some. Now, seriously, though, we talked a little bit about this offensive line and how it's constructed. And Adam and I have talked about, what do you do, since we were just talking about Jason Kelce, if he decides to, hang it up after this year, which, there's no indication that he would. But you have Landon Dickerson playing left guard, Trey, big guy, and he has the ability to play center. So does Isaac Seumalo. They could draft one. But would you keep Dickerson at left guard next to Mailata going forward? Or if center opens, would you move him to center?
I think if center open, I would move him to center just because
Really?
That's what he came in to play. Because Isaac went down, you brought Dickerson in and you made him a left tackle, which is good for him. The more he can do, the better it is. But I think, I don't even want to think about Kelce leaving right now. I mean, he just means so much to the team. I mean, he's such a great leader that I can't even think that, and he's playing his best football right now. This has been the best I've seen Kelce play in a couple years. This is probably one of his better years. And I mean, and he's someone that could mail it in and just say, you know what, I couldn't get to that block. You know what, It was too far downfield. But I mean, he's downfield 20, 30 yards leading the charge and then looking back at the running back like, why didn't you follow my block? What are you doing? But I think that, to me, I think Kelce at least has a couple more years in his bag that he could get out there and still give it to you at a high level.
Trey, when you're playing with a dual threat quarterback like Jalen, you play with Donovan McNabb. And I know Donovan later in his career just didn't really run very much, became more of a passer. But what are the challenges for a left tackle or just generally an offensive lineman when you're playing with a guy? Sometimes you're not sure whether he's going to run or not. What are the challenges like there for you?
Well, one of the things that I think one of the problems that I saw from Jalen, especially when it was, against Tampa, there were times where he took off running when he didn't need to. And I think that's some of the problems that you have with an athletic quarterback. They see like, here comes a little color, but your offensive line, they take care of it, but you start getting antsy in the pocket when you don't need to. But I think that one of the things that Jalen is good at is that he doesn't drop too far back. One of the things, he'll take his depth, but then now if he sees a gap, he's going to cut up in there. He doesn't take those deep drops. There were times where he would, and I talked to him about it all the time. He would just, sometimes, man, you're taking a 7-8 yard drop, man. I mean, that's a little deep. I need you, I need you to, take 5 yards, and I need you to step up at least 2, to get up in there, so that when we get ready to run our guys by. But I think one of the things that Jalen is, he gets a little bit more is that he just gets upfield instead of drifting too far back.
Trey, a lot of people forget that when you did coach with the Eagles under Chip Kelly, you were on the other side of the ball. You work with the pass rushers. So I want people to remind people that you've got a little bit of a defensive coaching cap on your resume. So when you look at what the Eagles have to do to get that guy, Tom Brady, to be a little bit different, blitzing him is not usually a good recipe. So how do they go into this game? What defensive mindset do they need to have, and what do they need to do?
Everything should be on a 2-second clock. You should have in your mind that all of my pass rush moves need to get home at 2 seconds. Anything over 2 seconds, the ball is out. Tom Brady is going to get out there. He's going to make his reads. He already knows where he wants to go. He's going to manipulate the box. He's going to do everything that he needs to do. But you got to make it with your front four. And if you do bring 5, somebody better get home, because if you go out there and you bring 5 and you're saying, okay, I want their offensive line to spread out and take 5 on, somebody has to get home, so everything should be designed of thinking that, all right, I need to get there in 2 seconds, because if not, the ball is going to be out and Brady's going to stress your defensive front and he's going to stress your secondary just because he's someone that's going to be able to manipulate the box and he's going to send motion. He's going to do a little bit of everything to kind of get you guys off their mark.
Trey, let's say the Eagles win the toss or they don't, but they get the ball first. We know that they're a running team. That's why they're in the playoffs. But would you be aggressive? No, you're going to have to score. I mean, scoring 14 or 17 points probably will not win the game for them. Would you come out strong? What would your approach be to this game?
You know what? One of the things I always enjoyed for us is that we would always have this play called Pass 67. And everything about it looked like run. Everything about it looked like run. And then now you got that deep pass to T.O. or Todd Pinkston or Freddie, that deep pass or thrash over the top where it looks like run. Everything about it looks very aggressive. We get a nice chip block off the running back. And then now the quarterback can circle back out of there and you get a deep ball off the top. I could see them doing something like that where you can find one of your speedsters, a regular or a Quez, and find one of those speedsters getting downfield, and then there you go. But you have to, especially when you have a team that is such run aggressive. A nice pass 67 is beautiful.
Trey, I want to tell people to first download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code ITB, and they can get 56-1 odds on any NFL team. That's it. Bet $5 and win $280 in free bets if your team wins using promo code ITB this wild card weekend at DraftKings Sportsbook. Getting back to how you pass rush Brady, and I think you make a great point about how you have to have everything within a 2-second clock. A lot of the success the Eagles have had lately, you see a lot more stunting, twisting, athletic line games up front. Does that get neutralized a little bit by a 2-second clock, though? Because obviously that takes some lateral movement. It's not always right upfield. Is that difficult for the Eagles to be able to pull off?
No, not at all. I mean, the key to running a game is just making sure that your stance marries how many steps you want to take to run the game. You see what I'm saying? So if I'm going to run a ET where the end is going to be the crasher and then the tackle will be the looper, then I want my defensive end to have his outside foot back because I want him to take one step up the field. Then I want that second step coming down on that offensive tackle. I want to be coming to him quick. I don't want to have my inside foot back because now it's taking too many steps to get into him. And then that allows the guard to get in position to be able to take things off. So you want to make sure that your stance matches what kind of stunt you want to run, just so that it can take the stutter step out of it. Because you want everything to be fluid, especially when you want to try to get there in 2 seconds. If you have to have a stutter step, if you have to take an extra step to be able to do the game, then now that's just adding time to it, and then the ball is out.
Trey, what's the mindset of a football player as you enter the playoffs? Particularly, this is a new regime. You've got a new head coach, new staff, or revised staff, certainly a lot of new guys here. What should the mindset of the player be? Because, again, no one was expecting to be in the playoffs, but they are. They're going against the Super Bowl champions. If you were playing right now, how would you feel about going to this game?
Oh, man, you're high. You're extremely high, and your mindset is always going to be aggressive. One of the things that this team cannot have, though, and this is something that's going to have to come from the leaders, they cannot start slow. You know, they need to come out here and they need to play like their hair is on fire right out of the gate, and that's something that needs to be talked about all throughout the week. Leadership, that should be something that should be coming from Kelce, Fletcher Cox, anybody that's a leader in that organization. That's because it can't come from the coaches. The coaches, all the coaches are going to be, oh, yeah, we're going to start fast, start fast. It's going to have to be the leaders that's out there on that field that's making sure, like, hey, man, we need to play like our hair is on fire right out of the gate. We can't have a game where we're waiting until the end of the second quarter for things to start clicking, or waiting for the third quarter for things to start clicking, because Tom Brady is too good for that. This team is too good for that. You need to make sure that you come out there with your hair on fire right out the gate, and you go out there and you score quick, just so you can build some momentum. Because this team right now, you're coming into a hostile environment, which I always enjoyed playing on the road because I like being a spoiler. There was no better feeling than to see everybody walking out of the stadium by the end of the third quarter.
That is a great feeling. I imagine. And look, slow starts.
And you want to shut that damn cannon up. Kick the cannon over out there.
Yeah. By the way, when you go there in person and you see the whole boat and cannon, and compared to what it looks like on TV, it's just not the same. The TV, it looks like it's huge. You go there and you're like, oh, it's just a little boat in the concourse there.
You know, it's like a little paper boat. Yeah.
It's kind of like my first experience at the Liberty Bell too. I thought, the Liberty Bell, big crack, and then you go,
it's gonna be massive.
It's a bell, right. All right, Trey. Before we get you out of here, I feel the optimism in you. I almost feel like you want to pick an upset here. What do you think's going to happen?
I think we win this. I think this team comes in fired up, focused, man. I think right now you've caught this team on a stride. And now if these guys could come out here and play with their hair on fire right at the gate, I think we come out of here with a win. Now, the only thing that concerns me, man, is Tom Brady in the playoffs, man. And it doesn't matter what kind of turmoil they got going on, Antonio Brown stuff and everything else. Tom Brady in the playoffs is you got to know that it's coming. But I think if this team comes out there and play with their hair on fire, we come out of here with a win.
I tell you, Trey, it would really help if they could figure out a way to have a 9-point lead with a minute and a half left. I'd feel comfortable.
Yeah, I feel
8
good
or
about
less,
it.
and you're worried.
Yeah, knock some of that avocado dye out his hair, man. Let's go get some.
All right. Great catching up with you, Trey. Thank you
All right,
for
man.
bringing us into Florida there, letting us see all that beautiful weather, that high school football going on at IMG Academy where you're at. And we look forward to you coming back north and getting together with you soon. All right.
Absolutely, man. Y'all take care. Have a good one.
All right. For
Good
Trey
luck, man.
Thomas and Adam Caplan, I'm Geoff Mosher. You've been watching Inside the Birds TV.